Hey students, so this is an intro video about SPSS. So I'm just going to show you the main features in SPSS that you will use in Marketing for 70. So first thing, when you open a database, this is what it will look like. Now, if yours looks slightly different, don't panic. It's probably because you clicked Data View, which makes your database look like this, rather than Variable View, which makes it look like this. So it really depends where you click here. So this is the main thing you need to know. You can always switch back between Data View and Variable View. Now, what's really the difference between these two? So Variable View gives you an overview of all your variables. So you can see that all these variables are listed underneath each other in the same order as they occur in your survey. So let's say you created a survey in Qualtrics and then you download your data from Qualtrics into SPSS, then this is what it'll look like, and this is the order that your questions will be in. So this is the first thing to know. So you have all your questions right here in your Variable View tab and with a certain variable name. So every question in your survey corresponds to a variable in your database. What you can see here for these survey names is that you can only use underscores or just all subsequent letters. So you cannot leave a space or use any other characters to create your variable names. So that's something to keep in mind. You'll get an error message if you don't, basically follow these guidelines. So for each variable here, you see that not only is there a name, there's also a type, which you can actually manually change if you would want to. The most commonly occurring types are numeric variables or string variables. String variables means that it's a type of variable or a type of question that allowed respondents to type something in. Numeric means that it has a numerical value. So that could be, for example, a Likert scale where people select whatever applies to them on a scale from 1 to 5. So you can actually change that right here if you want to. Normally everything is set by default already, so it should be okay. Now, when you first download your data, let's say for your group project, you want to double check whether all these things are correct. Next, what you see is a column that says width, and it shows like width and decimals of the answer options for each question. You usually don't have to worry about that. Now, what is more important is that you know what label stands for. So label is a full description of what your variable is. Normally, this is already filled in when you transfer your data from Qualtrics to SPSS. So what you will see here is the actual question in the same wording as you asked it in your survey in Qualtrics. So it should normally already be there. But if you want, you can always change things here and type stuff in. However, maybe good to know, here you can actually use spaces and like specific characters, which you cannot do in your variable name. So here you can go wild, you can actually make it very foolproof and describe what your variable stands for in more detail. The next column is values, and values shows what the possible answer options are. So for each variable, it shows what the answer categories were in case there were categories. If there were no categories, let's say people could actually type something in, it'll say none because there's no values. Like for example, if you allow people to type in their age and they type in 23 or 24, that exact number they type in will be the value. So there's no need to set any specific values. So what you have, for example, here in this question, subjective knowledge overall, which is a subjective knowledge question about craft beer, it shows the following values. It shows values ranging from 1, strongly disagree, to 5, strongly agree, and of course all the options in between. So this, of course, should perfectly correspond to the answer options you gave in your Qualtrics survey. But again, by default, this should already be entered normally when you transfer your Qualtrics data to SPSS, so it should normally be good. Always great to double check though. Here you have, for example, a gender variable, which we have 1 equals male, 2 equals female, and 3 equals other or refuse. So these were the answer options that respondents were presented with. The next column is a column that says missing, and this is a column that indicates what value you as a researcher assign to missing data, to people who did not answer a certain question. So let's say, for example, a certain respondent filled in your whole questionnaire but forgot to answer a certain question, one specific question, or refused to answer a specific question, then you can well, it'll show up as a dot, as just an empty cell with a little dot inside, like a period inside, in your database, but you can manually change that to -999 or -99 as the discrete missing values. You don't have to worry about it too much. This is actually a convention that we use in research, to adopt -999 or -99 as the code or the value to indicate missings, simply because these are values that would not probably occur in your database otherwise. Like, let's say, for example, we would have made the convention to use the value 25 for each missing value, then every person who types in that they're 25 would be flagged as missing, which makes no sense at all. So you probably understand now why we use a pretty absurd number that would naturally not normally occur in your database, because no one's -999 years old, and it's not really an amount, a dollar amount that would occur. So this actually makes sense to use something like this as the indicator of missing values. But that's a convention, like I said, so that's something researchers have pretty much agreed on. Then you have a column that says columns. Nothing to worry about here. A line you usually don't have to look at either. And if you scroll a little bit further to the right, this is really important. You have a column that says measure. And what this column does is it shows what measurement level each of these variables is. So let me make this a little smaller so you can see the corresponding variables with each of their measure. And you can see that you can switch for each variable between scale, ordinal, or nominal. So by default, you'll already have most of these variables labeled correctly in terms of what measure they are, but sometimes there could be mistakes sneaking into the process. Now, let's take a look here. For example, the variable age, it is set to scale. Well, naturally, age would be measured as a ratio scale, but now in this database, scale has been reduced to a ordinal scale. So actually, this is a mistake and should be set to ordinal. Okay, so what else do we have? We have, for example, subjective knowledge. Again, this bunch of questions are all Likert scale items, allowing people to indicate to what extent they disagree versus agree with a certain question. As you can see, these are interval scaled, so that's why the measure here is set to scale. As you can see as well, SPSS does not differentiate between nominal, does differentiate between nominal, ordinal, and scale, but does not differentiate between interval or ratio scales. So whether your variable is of interval or of ratio level, SPSS will only give you the option scale, which captures both of those. So they're considered the same in SPSS language. So yeah, what you want to do when you download your data from Qualtrics into SPSS is for each of the variable names here on the left, and for each of the variable labels and values, double check whether they are indeed indicated with the correct measurement level. So make sure this is all correct, because sometimes even if you accidentally click and change things, like I probably did here with the age variable, it is ordinal, so make sure it is set to ordinal and click out of it again. Okay, so this is the overview of the variable view tab in SPSS. Now, if you go to the data view tab, what you see is all of your actual data. So these are the responses that people have given. Now, what we see now is that the layout kind of changed. So we have each of our variables listed next to each other in the columns. And each of the rows now, this time, represents a respondent. So these are all our respondents who answered in a certain way to each of these questions, like, for example, income categories or employment status, and so on. So if you wonder how many respondents you have, you can actually look right here and scroll all the way down. I mean, there's more efficient ways to do this, but let's take a look right now so you get an idea. We have 200 respondents in our database for all who answered all of these variables. So if you look in your data view overview tab, you'll see a lot of points. All of these empty cells or points are basically missing data. That means this particular respondent, this guy right here, this girl, actually did not fill in these questions. Now, depending on what the question really is, this could be really missing data, like true missing data, or this could just mean that it was a check all that apply question and they just didn't check it because it didn't apply to them. So to make sure that you're not treating it as missing data, if it is not, it's best to go look at the questions themselves. And as you can see, these right here, if we go to our to our variable view tab, we see that these are check all that apply questions that ask about whether people are members of a certain club on campus: fraternities, sororities, cultural clubs, religious clubs, academic or professional clubs, recreational or sports clubs. So these questions here are all check all that apply questions. So it probably asked respondents in the original Qualtrics questionnaire, hey, please check each of the following clubs that you're a member of on campus. So of course, if people didn't check it, they didn't touch it, it shows up as a missing, as a 0. If they checked it, it's a 1. So this is exactly what you see in the data view tab right here. This person, respondent number 3, clearly is a member of fraternity sororities on campus. This person right here, respondent number 13, is a pretty engaged person because he or she is a member of, let's take a look, cultural clubs on campus, as well as, let's take a look, academic or professional organizations. So you can see that the majority of all these students is not a member of any of these clubs. So that's why it is missing. It shows up as missing data for each. So do not worry if your questionnaire has a lot of check all that apply questions, you're gonna have a lot of these seemingly missing data points. Okay. What else do I really want to show you guys in this introduction? Well, that is of course the toolbar. So what you have right here, SPSS Statistics, you have this tab called File that allows you to open a new data file, a new syntax, or new output file. You're only going to work with data files. I'm not going to make you guys do coding in the syntax, but I'll show you guys later what that syntax will look like. And I'll also show you what an output file will look like. So you can open all this new stuff, you can import data. Very important, you can save data, and you must save your data. So unlike Qualtrics, SPSS does not save everything for you, and it also does not allow people to work in one database simultaneously when changes are made. What I mean by that is you should consider SPSS as a classic Word document where if you, for example, if you make a certain change, you actually have to save it and then send it, email it, or somehow upload it somewhere to give your group members access to that same updated data file. Because otherwise they'll still be working in an old version that doesn't have the changes you just made. So always save your data. Once you made all the changes and you save it once and all the permanent structural changes in the database are made, you can actually just let everyone work in that database and run analysis. That's no problem. But definitely save your data. This is the most commonly used option, obviously, under File. In Edit, you have an undo and a redo button. You can cut, copy, paste, and so on. You can clear if, for example, you want to clear or delete an entire respondent simply because they didn't fill in the whole questionnaire. So if they left everything blank, you can just clear them up, delete them. You can insert a variable, insert cases. You most likely will never need this, but you could. Under View, you can show the display of your toolbar and so on, but you probably won't need this very often because the default settings are pretty useful. Under Data, there's a couple things you will use. You could, for example, split a file or select cases. Split a file allows you to split your data file according to a certain criteria. For example, if you want to split your database in two separate databases, one for males and one for females, you could use the variable gender as a splitting variable that allows you to create two separate databases. You don't often need this actually. What is more common to use is select cases. And select cases, if you click on it, let's take a quick look. it allows you to select certain cases, again, depending on the criteria. So initially, by default, everything will be set to all cases. So that means when you run a certain analysis now, all cases, so all respondents, will be included in the analysis. Now, however, you can create a filter. You can create a filter that is set in a certain way that only if a certain condition is satisfied, you want people to be included in the survey or not. So let me show you. If you click if condition is satisfied, you can click on if, and you can say, for example, if gender right here, and you click it in, if gender equals 1. And we remember from the variable view tab right here that gender code 1 stood for males. So what we're doing now is we're selecting all the males. We hit continue, and I say in the output, filter out the unselected cases. So that means all the females and all the people who indicated other or refused to answer are filtered out. So you could also say copy select cases to a new data set and create a separate data set only for males, only for people who meet that condition of gender being 1. But let's just filter out unselected cases for now. If you then hit OK, you can immediately see what pops up right here is your output window. I'll tell you guys a little bit more about that right now or later. You can ignore this for now. But what you see is that certain respondents are crossed out. This is because they're female or because they indicated other or refuse. So that, in other words, they're not male. Only the males are kept in the database. So what we have right here, these respondents are all male. So that means that if we would run a certain analysis now, we would only apply that analysis to the males. Let's undo this filter, so go back to select cases and click back on all cases and hit OK. This way we canceled out the filter that we just put in as an example. We hit OK, the output window pops up again. We can ignore this for now. And you see nobody is scratched out. Now everyone's included in the database. Cool. So that was under data. What you will also need sometimes is the transform option. And under transform, there's two specific things that I will show you guys in Marketing 470. There is the compute variable option and the recode into same versus recode into different variables. So this will come back in a next video. Then there's the Analyze step, which basically this option gives you or lists all the potential analysis you will do in Marketing 470. So for example, descriptive analysis, frequencies you will need, you will use crosstabs, you can do compare means, one sample t-test, independent samples t-test, paired samples t-test, and so on. We're going to be using correlations, regression, and so on. What we will also use is reliability analysis. So basically, this is your go-to place for all the analysis you want to run. Direct marketing, you won't need graphs. You could use to build certain graphs, but actually you can also do that in your analysis tab when you're running the analysis. Utilities in this class we won't need, extensions we won't need, window we won't need, help you may need, but actually I hope not, because I hope my videos will be clear enough. Okay, so that's it for the introduction. One last thing I did want to say is there's this output file. So let's quickly take a look at that output file that I showed you guys earlier. Here is an example of that output file. So what that output file is consider it kind of like a logbook that constantly keeps track of everything you do. So it's spying on you and it constantly sees everything you click and everything you do, every action you perform in SPSS. So what we did earlier, remember, we created that filter for a second. I showed you guys how to do select cases with gender being 1. So as you can tell, the output kept track of that and shows right here that I did it. It shows that I executed a filter, but then it also showed that I switched the filter off again. So what you see right here, all this type of like coded language is syntax. So I'm not going to ask you guys to write any syntax, don't worry about that. But why this output window is important is because it will contain all your results, all your output. So whenever you run something, this window will constantly keep generating content. So the more I do, the more, if you scroll down, the more you will see in this output window. Now, as soon as you close this output window, it'll ask you whether you want to save or not your output. In a lot of cases, you don't want to save your output because, I mean, your computer will be just like full of output, saved outputs otherwise. But in some cases, you do want to save your output. If you did a meaningful analysis, you want to save that analysis, you don't want to redo it the next time you open SPSS, then by all means, please save your output. Or for any of the in-class assignments, save your output so you can email that output to me or upload it on Blackboard in the assignments. Now, as long as you don't save your output, we're actually going to cancel out of this. If you don't save your output and you just minimize it, it'll just be hidden on your computer. It'll just keep generating content. So you can just always ignore it and let it generate content, let it generate results for everything you do, and you can always take a look at it and see if there's any results you want to extract from it. Okay, so that is the basic, those are the basics about SPSS. In the next video, we'll go a little bit deeper into certain aspects of SPSS.